To get us started, I'm going to have Bob Pofall and Ariana Parsons come up and give a 5-minute talk about developments going on in the downtown area. I didn't know about this.
Okay, a little surprise. Only 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
I can't say anything in 5 minutes, but I think first of all, I want to thank the university. Kathy and many of us have been talking about trying to do something together to partner with the university to create a presence in the synergism. The university is such an important part of our community, and we've talked a long time, so now this is putting our talk into action to have our second event. We did host a student art show here a year ago, and we're hoping to make this a regular event. And it's not only for the university students, as you can see here. I think 3/4 of the people here are people from the community. The Arrowhead Center has amazing services that they provide entrepreneurs. And so this is an exciting opportunity to connect the community and merchants with the great services and assets that the university has, and a chance to connect the university and students with what's happening in the community. Ultimately, the jobs are down here. There's 6,000 or 7,000 jobs in a 1-mile radius of downtown, and we're excited about the future of our community. If you don't have a downtown, you don't have a city, you don't have a heart. It's up to all of us in the community to make this downtown happen. Whether you're a suburban developer or business or a university, people come to judge a city and they come to look at its downtown. And so we're excited for this opportunity. There'll be other times, maybe we'll talk more about what we're doing. I'll take 2 seconds to put this map up and show you some of the things happening downtown. I don't want that to go too high. We're right here at the Bank of the West. A year ago, we opened the plaza, which was a public-private project with the city. And the city, it's great to see Councilor Greg Smith here, has been a big proponent of pushing this downtown. And so there's many projects starting to happen. The new Convention Tourism Bureau is at the corner up here at Main and Amador, where my brothers used to be, and there'll be 2 or 3 restaurants there. So this just shows a couple of the projects happening. So my 2.5 minutes is well up. This is Ariana Parsons. She's the director of the Downtown Partnership, and she makes lots of things happen. She is the rainmaker downtown.
So what's happening downtown is truly exciting. I think that many of you, we've had just private discussions. We have some wonderful merchants from downtown here and some hopeful potential merchants in the future here in the audience today. There's never been a time that's been more exciting to be downtown. When I started in my position just about 3 years ago, it was pulling teeth to get one person to move down here. It was really difficult, and it kind of felt like we had to make the stars align a little bit. Today, it's completely the opposite. I'm getting so many phone calls and fielding so many calls that it's like, where are we going to put you? How are we going to make all of these things happen all at the same time? So as it moves forward, it's just building in the momentum, and we expect that that's not going to be slowing down anytime soon. It's a really, really fun time to be a part of the downtown community, and it's really a community. It's a family. Everyone supports each other. Everyone is there and energetic and involved, and it's just a really nice place to be. And what we want is for those people from the Arrowhead Center and the university in general to at least come down and take a look. There is a narrative that we've been telling ourselves as a community for a really long time now that downtown is never going to happen, or there's nothing going on, and nothing can be further from the truth. It's just getting out on one of those nights when we have an event in the plaza, or the upcoming Art Ramble relaunch. All of these things are happening. We have people like Southwest Creative Company, Oregon Mountain Outfitters, Iconic, all of these great businesses moving in. We have the Dragonfly open, opening 3 new restaurants, and I have at least 2 to 3 more high-end retailers coming in this year. So it's a really fun time, and we want you to be a part of it. So thanks for being here.
And I would just like to say thank you again to Bob and Ariana for their support for bringing entrepreneur encounters to the downtown mall. Their collaboration and partnership is what has made this happen. So we couldn't have done it without you. We're really excited. Entrepreneur Encounters is a speaker series we've held at Arrowhead Center for the last couple of years. We focus primarily on promoting entrepreneurship as a career pathway to students. And this year we're broadening our scope to bring the entrepreneur encounters out into the community so we can start hearing from more community voices about what it's like to be an entrepreneur in Las Cruces and around the region. So today's speaker is Troy Scoughton Sr. of PRC Productions. PRC Productions is a film company based here in Las Cruces. They were founded in 2010. They are also part of Borderland Media, which is an umbrella corporation that oversees PRC Productions. It was founded in 2015. And so without further ado, I introduce Troy Scoughton.
Thank you very much. Is this a cool collaboration or what? Arrowhead Center working with downtown, working with Bank of the West. This is fantastic. This is what we need to be all about. Okay? We've got Nathan Small. We've got Greg Smith. I got to tell you a story about Greg. So we had our grand opening. We moved to the Arrowhead Center, the entire production facility. And in the audience was my youngest grandson. This kid, you can't slow him down. Super smart and not shy for a second. So he comes running up to Greg, who is, as you all know, often takes the place of the mayor if the mayor is not available for things like grand opening. And we were flattered to have him come. And he pulls on his coat and he says, "The mayor's going to be here." And he said, "Well, yeah, son, I'm kind of taking that place." No. The mayor's going to be here, and I'm going to shake his hand. And he picked on him the whole time, and I want to say thank you for not swatting my grandson away when he was picking on you so much. But we really appreciate it. Before I get started, I'd just like to say that we need to always remember what happened on this day 16 years ago. The incidents and the war that followed, it's always a terrible thing. Always a terrible thing. Many, many, many people were injured, lost their lives. So if we could just, for a minute or 15 seconds, have a moment of silence, I would appreciate that. Thank you so much. I would like to first talk about, since this is an entrepreneurial, I mean, we're going to get into TMC, and we're going to talk about the cool film stuff in just a minute. But you may wonder, how on earth can I afford to do all this crap? And the way I can afford to do it is from a company called TMC Design. TMC Design, Chris Ham and I formed 20 years ago. And we're an engineering and manufacturing company right here in Las Cruces. You've never heard of us because most of the stuff we do is for the government and they don't like us to talk about it. Couple things we learned doing that are entrepreneur tips that if you want to open your own business, this is what you need to do, in my opinion. Number one, do not be afraid. Everyone will tell you you're going to go out of business instantly. Anyone that has half a brain will tell you, don't do this. It's the stupidest thing ever. You will go crawling back to your employer. We both had good jobs when we started this. Don't you listen to them. Because even if you fail, it's still a success. Every foot of film that's in a movie, for every frame, there are 10,000 unused frames. When we make a feature film, we film 12-hour days to get 5 minutes of film. Lots of failures, but those failures are what make you more successful. Number two, this was very important, especially with the government customer. Do not build it if you can buy it. If the government wants a truck, go down to the Ford dealer and buy him an F-550 big old giant truck, and it'll be great. You don't have to build your own truck. But if you can't get it, you got to design it and build it yourself. And that was the case for trailers for us, because we got these big old 16-foot satellite dishes, right? So how many people have satellite TV? Come on, yeah. And what happens when the wind's blowing really hard? Your reception goes up. Your dish is about 11 inches across. These dishes are 16 feet across. So the trailers have to be pretty doggone stout, or the whole thing's going to get off system. And the Army, and more correctly, the Joint Special Operations Command, which is the people we work for, they get very, very unhappy about that. So we built our own trailers. And they're the finest trailers you can buy, and all the electronics and all that crap to go with. And we're still building them today. We sell them to everybody else. Harris buys them, General Dynamics, all our competitors buy our trailers. Never wanted to be a trailer manufacturer, but that's how it worked out. And number 3, you got to take care of your people. All of my people have great benefits package. Now I can do that because of a government contractor, okay? Honestly. Long-term disability, short-term disability. We have full paid medical health insurance, everything you could possibly imagine, retirement plans, all that stuff. I take good care of my people. But my people, I get the same way. If I could hire somebody to do a job, I will, but I can't. Because I can't find an engineer anywhere in the country that can work at my company. Let me tell you why. Because if we're digging ditches, everybody's digging ditches, from the CEO on down. And if I get out there and pick up a shovel, and I turn around and look at one of my engineers standing there in a suit, coat, and tie, going, I'm not messing up my manicure, he is not long for the company. So we get our students maybe first or second year of school. We have a great co-op program. We bring them in, they get their security clearance, they get used to our company, they know how to work within our company. And by the time they graduate, we hire everyone. Some of them we ship off to horrible places like, you know, Colorado Springs and Afghanistan and stuff like that. But most of them we keep here. So that's how we did it. That's the secret to our success, is we always supported our customer. That up to and including going to war. When I was talking about that thing over in Afghanistan, yes sir, I was on a plane before the end of September, that very month. All right? Because we support our customers. And because our equipment was really complicated. They had a hard time operating it. Not so much anymore. Now we've got the best computer scientists you've ever seen design all this stuff. Well, almost the best. Maybe second best. Design all that stuff. Kathy was a pretty good computer scientist herself. So that we could have simple interface. Anyway, so that's TMC Design. And I need to speak about that just for a moment so you actually get some entrepreneurial goodness out of this meeting. Now let's talk about PRC Productions. I love TMC Design. We built it from nothing. We started on Idaho in an office with 2 people. I bought a computer and Chris Ham bought a printer. And we built it from there. We worked really hard. I eventually had to move over to 17th Street because I was making antennas. That's my thing. I'm an antenna designer. It's electromagnetics. It's the hardest subject I could get, okay? But I'll tell you what, we took care of our people. Whenever a big government contractor loses a contract, it's a gentleman's agreement amongst everyone that they lay off all their employees. And then the winning contractor, hires all those guys back, guys and gals. Except, I grew up in a housing area. How many people saw Moonlight? You know, the Academy Award-winning film. You guys didn't see much. Shame on you. You really should see that film. It's very good. They portray a housing area in Miami. I grew up in a similar housing area in Orlando. I've been out here for over 40 years, so I count myself as a native, but that's where I grew up. As a consequence of that, I didn't really learn what it meant to be a gentleman. So getting into the gentleman's agreement with these guys, I didn't know what they were talking about. I don't drink Cavassier, and I like cigars, but, you know, usually with my buddies. So when we lost a contract, I kept all my people. I found something else for them to do. And you know what? That was awful because, man, the government was mad at us because they lost all their expertise. The incoming contractor was mad at us because they couldn't hire anybody, but guess what? It worked. Those people are so loyal to me now. And those contractors that went took over, they couldn't do the job for nothing. You know how many times I got the job back within 18 months? Twice already. And it's fixing to happen again. Don't limit yourself. Don't be scared. Don't follow the status quo. You do what you think is right. Okay? Just like this congressman over here. I may not always agree with his politics, but guess what? What's in his heart is right. It's the good thing. He cares about you guys. All right, enough of that. PRC Productions. So 9 years ago, we started having meetings. There was this guy named Mark Vasconcellos that came over to my house and he filmed a commercial. I'm sorry, am I messing you up there?
No, you're good.
I do this to the cameraman all the time.
It's okay.
So, yep.
I got you. You go where you want to go.
So, the Doniana branch was building or needed to do a commercial for their automotive department. But it was undergoing construction at the time. So they had no place to film the commercial. Well, I had a lift, long story, deal I made with my wife. I said, okay, you get this big house, I get a lift. So I can build all my hot rods and stuff like that. So he came out to my house and they filmed this commercial at my house. Coolest thing I ever saw. It's like a military operation, but nobody shoots at you. I love it. I absolutely loved it. And it got me hooked, and I said, we need to do this. Because what do we have? What is our number one export? Talented young people. That's right. Does that make any sense? Let's keep those people here. Let's keep our talented young people here. And they can, you know, I mean, they usually come back in 20 years or so, but look at all the contributions they made to Phoenix or Las Vegas or Los Angeles or wherever. What if they stayed here and made those contributions here? That'd be cool, wouldn't it? So I said, man, we should do this. So we started talking. We talked about it for 2 years, didn't we? Nathan was there with all this conversation. We talked about it for 2 years. We went everywhere. We looked at all these different locations and stuff, and they're still working on it. It's hard, it's difficult, and it's expensive to build the infrastructure needed for large studio-based productions. PRC took a different approach. I knew my limitations. I did not have $5 million to invest in a large sound stage. I did not have the crew to run a large sound stage. So we built our own. So we started from nothing and we built it up. So I have a couple cool things to show you. We have a little reel of commercials, a little reel with feature films, and a little reel on PRC, I think. And it actually gives me a chance to go around here and take a drink of water. Can you play those? So, without further ado, take a look at these.
Well, I have a wonderful electronic invention I want you to see. It looks something like this.
So pretty cool, huh? And all of that right here. Thank you. all of that right here in Las Cruces. All of that talent right here in Las Cruces. That means the camera, the edit, the audio, all the music, everything right here in Las Cruces. We have the skill set necessary. We just don't have the experience. So how do we do it? If you could start that PSS file. All right. Now you said this thing here will, can I select this? Let's try. Pretty cool. No? Okay, so this one? Oh, yeah, there it works.
I did that one.
Okay.
Just let me know when you need it.
Can I? Yeah, go ahead. So who am I? I'm Troy Scoughton Sr. I am doing this now for 7 years. I'm a member of the Producers Guild of America. What that means is that video that we're just talking about, Moonlight, we are the ones that vote on that. So we determine the best picture. Now, it wasn't my selection. I'm kind of more of a Western guy, but hey, it was on there. It was in the top 4. Okay? So that's what we do. Why is that? Because we keep trying to raise the game. We keep trying to raise our game. So when we first started out, we used this kind of camera. Now we're all the way up to a red Scarlet camera. Why? Because it's better. It looks good. Okay? Our cameramen are the best. The editors are the best we can possibly get. We have 3D graphics now. Really cool. So why is that important that I put all this junk up there? So that you can see who's talking to you. Don't just listen to anybody. Somebody starts talking and they don't have the background to talk about it. You know, especially if they're giving you business advice. That's bad. Why do people want to film here? Well, it's obvious. We've got a whole bunch of films have been done here. A bunch of great films. We have White Sands Monument. We have the Oregon Mountains. We have Corralitos Ranch. You get a 360 view of the desert with no interruptions. It could be 1880 out there. Or 2045. Nobody knows. That's very cool for producers. We also have a great rebate. 25% for film, 30% for episodic television productions. Pretty cool. And Mexico is close. And that's a big one. That's a big one. What are the bad things? Well, we don't have a large sound stage, okay? And we don't have, we have limited local production capability. We don't have a rental house. We have local union crew members, but not a full crew. Film permits are difficult. There's a bunch of different agencies you have to work through to get them. And the New Mexico rebate, and I will say this for now and for all time, is not easy. Anybody that says it's easy, never got one. Okay? It's not easy. You have to satisfy New Mexico tax and revenue. And they are not a little organization. They know what they're doing. They know exactly what they expect. And if you don't meet their requirements, you don't get the rebate. All right? So how do we solve those? No large soundstage, but right now the city of Las Cruces, NMSU, Arrowhead, Film Las Cruces are all working on this problem. They will solve it. They will solve it. We will have a soundstage. It may not look exactly like we originally thought it was going to look, but we will have a soundstage. It may take a couple of years. Things like that do, but we will have that. Limited local production capability. That's true, but we're working on it. PRC, right now, our facilities are over at Arrowhead Center, and we're working every day with the university. We just had an entire class of CMI students in to watch Ross Marks and 2 other professors film a portion of a movie that we're making right now with them. Pretty cool. These kids get to see the professors, and excuse me, I don't mean that as a derogatory remark, okay, I'm old. These young people get to see the professors actually doing what they're supposed to know how to do, rather than just listen to them speak all day. That's really cool, I think. We also have a really good post-production capability. All this stuff, we did all this. All those graphics, we did all this. We're fixing to put out a film that was shot entirely in front of the green screen. It's a short, it's only 12 minutes long, but it'll come out soon and you'll love it. Film noir, detective story. All that was there was a desk and the 2 actors. Everything else is in 3D space. It was all artistically created by Carlos Tejeda. Very, very good guy. Also just got back from Mexico, and we're trying to work a deal with his hometown right now to make a visit. Because you know what? I want to go shoot in Mexico too. No local rental houses, guys, that's going to be a problem. It's a lot of equipment. I've tried doing it. You have to make a huge investment in equipment, and then it sits there unused for a long, long time, and you're making payments on every month and going, gee, this was not smart. Wish I wouldn't have done this. So that's going to take a little while. I don't know the solution for that. Film permits are difficult, but we can simplify this process. Where is he at? There he is. This guy right here, who's our film liaison, can simplify this process. Now, we all have to work with him, and we have to make sure that he has our support and knowledge and understanding, but he can take and interface with all those guys, BLM, International Boundary Commission, NMSU, City of Las Cruces, Doñana County, and make it a one-stop shop. So if I'm a producer from Los Angeles, I walk in and see John and say, hey, I want this place, this place, this place, this place. And he said, yeah, we can have that for you. But we've got to support him for that to happen. New Mexico rebate, not easy. Why? Because I'm an engineer. Okay, I can do math in my head, but I'm no accountant. Now, I was because I had to be, but there are accountants out there that are really, really good at this stuff. And so if we have accountants either through Film Las Cruces, the City of Las Cruces, or even maybe through New Mexico Tax and Rev, I mean, you know, it's all possible. So if we have people to help filmmakers who, remember, these people are creative types. They can't even do math in their head. So it's even one step worse than an engineer trying to do all this stuff. Where's my buddy at? Robert Dean. How easy is getting a film rebate? Okay. He's been working on one for how many months now?
2 years at least.
Okay. It ain't easy. Next one.
Well, before you go, would you tell about the limited local union crew? You skipped that one.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough one. The office is in Albuquerque. If you go more than 225 miles away, you got to pay all kind of extra payments, get housing and all this sort of stuff. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how to get the 480 to open an office here. It seems like an easy thing to do. They may or may not want to do that. But there are similar unions in El Paso and Juarez. So you never know. But we need an office here. If we had an office here and we had a union rep here, it would make having a union crew here a lot easier to do. We have union crew members here. They're just out of the office in Albuquerque. So if I'm a producer and I come and I say, okay, I want to make this film and I have so-and-so and so, and it's all union film and all this great stuff, and say, okay, great. That's going to cost you an extra $500,000 if you want to shoot it in Las Cruces. And you say, you know, Albuquerque's
That's a good
nice.
idea.
I like Albuquerque. And that's exactly how that decision is made. Okay. So, mostly what we could do is make profitable films. Well, how on earth do we do that? Well, quite frankly, I'm just now learning how to do that. It's taken me 7 years. I have paid the stupid tax over and over and over and over. Did you see all the films I made? Yeah. But I'm learning how to do it. Let me show you how. There you go. We got a plan, we got to have pre-sales, we got to have finance, and we have to execute. And when I say execute, I mean there's no question about it. It has to be phenomenal. When people see it, they have to go, oh my God, that was made in Las Cruces. That's our job. That's why I keep raising the bar. That's why I keep getting better cameras, better crew, better abilities, better locations. Okay, let's plan. We got to make professional one-sheets, that sell the film. And I mean, they have to look like these. So, this is the first film, Delusional. I wrote this. I love this film. It's a great film. People in California hate it. Next one. Desert Demons. I love this film. This is a brilliant film. It's got the car culture and all this stuff and great devils all over the place, and people in California also hated it. First Strike. This was the best one ever. But I used a little bit too much technical knowledge from my previous life, and I wasn't allowed to make it, and the people in California also hated it. Next one. Hideous. Great film. I don't know if Johnny Tabor wrote it or you wrote it, but it's a great film. It's a good film. And they hated it. Black. Cody Dalton. Good guy. Good film. Great idea. Loved it. Original. They hated that one too. So let's look at the next one. Negative Ions. Oh man, this was close to my heart. I thought this was going to be brilliant. I thought everyone was going to love this. They hated it. Next one. Imaginary. Troy Jr. wrote this one. I'm going to write the script because I don't think he'll ever finish. They like this one. They like this one. Next one. Dead to the World. David Salcedo wrote this one. They like this one. And one more. The Beast. Robert Dean wrote this one. They love this one. Go one more. Let me tell you what that means. So what that means is they loved it enough to push it in front of their sales company. By they, I mean the guys in California. Am I going to mention their name? No. Why? Because it took me 7 years to figure it out. Okay? You want to sign a non-disclosure? I'll give you their name. Okay? But these guys push this thing forward because they want Imaginary, Dead to the World, and mostly they want The Beast, and they want it right now. So how do we do this? Let's say it cost $1 million. We can do it for a lot less than that. I'm telling you right now, these guys have no idea what I pay just about everybody in my crew $100 a day. I know that's despicable, but that's what they get paid, which is, $12.50 an hour. It's okay. It's okay. It's not great, but it's okay. Some people I have to pay more than that. Actors especially. Actors are the key. So the sales company will say, I will do this for you. I'll give you a $250,000 pre-sale against this estimated cost. We're estimating you're going to get a $200,000 rebate from the state of New Mexico. And we have additional sales at 70% of $550. Guess what? Boom, numbers match up. It's a go. I got all this documentation. I'm not making this up. So what's required? This is what's required. These actors have been burned so many times by so many people like me that run around with all these great big ideas and all these great big thoughts and no finance. And what happens is they sign up, they forego other projects, and then all of a sudden, I don't have the money to make the movie. So what happens is they will not sign up without an escrow. They require a $200,000 escrow. I have to put the money in escrow. Now, how does this work? I don't know. But I tell you what, I got on long pants today. I'm going to have on long pants all week because I'm going to go around and talk to everybody that I can that understands how this works and figure it out. So maybe next week I'll know how it works. But what they want is they want $200K in escrow, and what I'm going to do is, this is my plan. I'm going to be completely crazy. We're going to put $200K in escrow, and then we're going to say if we don't raise all the money by such and such a time, say 6 months, everybody gets money back, except for whatever the handling fees are, which I'll probably have to pay. That's what it's going to take. And not just for this movie, for every single film that we do down here. We are going to have this same structure. And if we work with these same guys, we are going to need this every single time we make one of these movies. But think about it. $1 million? When's the last time you worked on a movie that had $1 million budget? See? Me too. Usually the budget is much, much, much less than that, and all comes out of my pocket. I don't mind. I believe in this. I think we can make this work. But I'm telling you, as these movies get bigger and bigger and bigger, my pockets ain't big enough. So here's what I'm saying. If we want to have film in this area, we can have film in this area, but it's going to require us to bring in the financial strength, the financial investments to be able to do this. And then we got to execute. Because once we get it and once we do it, if we don't pull it off, if we screw it up, we probably won't get another chance. That's how it works. Because on top of the $200K that we're going to put in, there's going to be an additional whole boatload of money that people in California are going to put in. And they'll do it once. But let me tell you a story. There's a film called Sharknado. I know you all have seen it. Don't pretend you haven't. Okay? Sharknado was made by a company that now does 30 films a year, about 30 feature films a year, and they have a couple episodic series too. Guys, this is a very successful production company. That's who we're modeling ourselves after. If I make 30 crummy movies a year, you guys can all walk up to me at the farmer's market. I know that dude, you made that whole movie was awful. I said, yeah, but you paid $5 for it, didn't you? Okay? That's what it's going to take. So our next step in this process, where we are right now, we have the ideas. I showed you at least 7 bad ones. Most of them are mine, okay? And some good ones. And believe me, these guys see dozens of ideas every day. So the fact that we had 3 good ones on the list, that's pretty good. All right? We continue to raise the bar and try to get our crew better and get better and better people. And the idea that we're on the campus now gives us a better location for people to come and see what we can actually do. By the way, if you haven't been over there, please come by. We built a really cool infinity wall and green screen studio that we're using all the time now. It's pretty nice. The last step is to figure out this financing. And as soon as I have this figured out, we're golden. And we can move forward. And I'm not the only one that can do this. It's not all just PRC Productions. Look at me. I'm old. I want to be home with my little dog. Okay? So all of you people that want to start production companies, this is the way to do it. You must not make movies on your own anymore. Bad idea. I have a whole shelf full of them. You will not sell them. You must get pre-sale agreements, and they will tell you exactly which actors they want in, and they will tell you if they like the movie or not before you even start. I know it's kind of limiting and so on and so forth, but you know, it's kind of like making toothpaste. If you made toothpaste that tasted like garlic, you may think it was the best thing in the world, but I don't know how many people would buy it. Same with the movies. These sales companies know what will sell. And if you're lucky and you get in with Netflix and stuff like that, then these numbers go up. And that's cool. So, that's how we can make movies in Las Cruces. That's my opinion. They're all independent films. They're not $200,000 films. You don't get to have lunch with Johnny Depp. But you can employ an awful lot of people. These crews are at least 30, not counting actors. That's just the crew. Okay? And if we're doing 5 or 6 of them a year, I guarantee you they're going to be full-time plus. All right. Well, was it boring? No. I hope not. That was my biggest concern. Well, first I thought it was just going to be the 3 of us, okay? And then after that, I said I don't want everybody to be bored. Thank you for your attention. If you have any questions on any subject, I'll be happy to entertain that now. All right.
We can open it up for about 5 seconds, or 5 seconds. 5-second
quick.
questions. Make it quick. 5 minutes of question and answer. Anybody have questions for Troy?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so from your experience up to now in being in one industry and then starting from the beginning in a completely different industry, do you have any tips or advice on getting administration side, as well as trying to find the time to invest in either or?
It's a good question. The engineering company is a lot more compartmentalized and a lot more militaristic, if you will. And so when I walk in to a meeting and sit down, I expect certain things to happen. I expect people to all have what they're supposed to present that day, and I expect them to all have answers to the questions they know I'm going to ask. Like, when is it going to be finished? And is everybody happy? Is the customer happy? Things like that. When you work with a bunch of creatives, that doesn't happen like that. And you don't want to squish them because you'll squish all the creativity out. You can't do that. You'll just chase them away. So when you work with extremely creative minds and you ask the question, okay, when are you going to be done with this project? And they say, define done. You have to take a breath, say, well, let's go through this step by step. So it's been a big transition on me. Also, the accounting part of it was completely different. At TMC, I have a whole staff of administrators. I mean, they have, one gal's got a PhD in accounting, okay? I did never have a clue about any of that. As a matter of fact, I constantly complained about that expense, all right? Well, now, I can't even afford to have someone help me with it, so I have to do it all myself. So all the taxes, all the accounting, all the payroll, all that stuff, believe me, I have a whole newfound respect for people in that area. As a matter of fact, every time I go to the other company, which I still own half of, I just walk around telling everybody what a great job they're doing. So it's been more of an education for me. Some things apply. You still have to have a product. You still have to be able to try to sell that product for more than it costs you to make and do all those normal things that have to do with any business. But there's the handling, care and handling is a little different. So I think that was the biggest wake up for me. And learning that I have to do what other people want. I can't just do what I want and think it's going to be great and brilliant and sell crazy, because it's not. Did that answer your question? Okay, good deal. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
You mentioned you own 50% of the business. Any tips on partnerships?
Get somebody you like. I've been business partners with Chris Ham for longer than 3 of his marriages. I've been married to the same woman for 42 years. Okay, I married a local girl. I got lucky. Knew her for 3 months. Everybody said it never worked. But you got to have somebody that you can work with and that you trust. If you don't trust them, you can't work with them. You can't be business partners with them. It's a special kind of relationship. I think that in many ways is harder to put together than even a marriage. And you know how hard it is to have, a regular relationship. A marriage is much harder than that. But a business partnership, you got to get somebody that not only has the same, let's say, vision you do, but they also have the same moral fiber you do. So if you have, go loose and fast, then get somebody that's loose and fast. If you like to do things a very conservative, step-by-step way, then gets that. For example, TMC Design, we have grown at a very, very controlled rate, but we have grown every year. And our profitability has stayed right where we said it was, about 10% every year. And that used to really be not so great when we were making almost nothing. But now that we're making a whole bunch of money, it's pretty cool. And it keeps going that way. But that's because we all believe in how it is, and we don't want to come and take a whole big bunch of money out of the company to go do something crazy like, I don't know, make a movie. So there you go.
What are the chances of collaboration of other, businesses with the film industry?
Dude, we're all over collaboration. We have meetings every day. Anytime you want to come over and have a meeting with us, you just give me a holler. I just collaborated with a bunch of guys from El Paso that want to do a zombie anthology. Thank you, I was dying there for a minute. A zombie anthology, okay? And man, these guys come in and they're so cool and so creative, and they've got all these great ideas and stuff. Oh yeah, I want to work with them. And like I said, we're fixing to book a trip down to we're in Mexico. Do you remember? I can't remember. See, I got to have my whole staff of guys here on business, and to talk to them about making movies down there, because they take it a completely different approach. They're like Great Britain. They're heavily invested in by the government, but then the government ends up owning a whole bunch of the rights to the movie. So it's all, you know, good and bad. But yes, we collaborate with everybody that we can. Yes, ma'am.
You alluded to not taking money out of one company to put it into another company.
That's right.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on the on differentiating those businesses and how you keep?
Sure, absolutely.
You ensure that they're
well, for example, we're fixing to win a big old contract. Fingers crossed. And when we do, we're going to need a lot of credit. I'm talking about TMC now. And we're going to need a lot of credit. So in order to get that credit, we have to have a lot of retained earnings. So if I went over there and tried to just say, okay, well, I'll just grab, $500,000 out of TMC, well, then we may not have sufficient retained earnings, and we're not going to be able to do this other contract, because we may need to borrow $5 million to buy all the stuff to make that happen. See what I'm saying? So you cannot sacrifice one for the other. You gotta keep everything in balance. Okay, so PRC, yeah, I put a bunch of money. God, I don't want to tell you how much money I put in, but the fact of the matter is that I cannot sacrifice the other company for that, because the other company is where I get the money to put into PRC to begin with.
Cool.
So we won't do that. And besides, my business partner wouldn't let me anyway. So there's that. So very conservative. That's how we've approached it. That's how we've always approached it, and that's how we continue to approach it to this day.
Thanks.
Anybody? Yes, sir.
So it sounds like you're not as active in the TMC design.
No. Through a long series of stuff, I had a lot of interesting stuff happen to me. I'll just tell you, we built an IAT Jammer. So based on what we did in Afghanistan, we got called to Washington, D.C. in 2003, and his colonel that I just love to death, he's got a PhD from MIT. He's a full colonel, and he just got a Bronze Star in Afghanistan. I know the dude. He's a good guy, smart guy. And he called me and Chris in his office, and he said, boys, he said, my soldiers are dying. These IEDs are awful. They have thousands and thousands and thousands of artillery rounds, and they're putting blasting caps in them and putting little cheap initiation devices, and they're hiding behind the burrow over there. They're blowing my boys up. They're killing them like crazy. You've got to solve this problem. And so we went back, and in 3 days, right here in Las Cruces, on top of my green F-250 truck, we provided a solution. And it's badass. And then I built a factory and got a $400,000 shake and bake machine and hired all the people, and we started building. We were supposed to build 1,000 a month for as long as we could till we had one on every vehicle. And after the first month, I got a call. And they said, we got a problem. Well, it turns out that the Army had already spent $100 million trying to develop the same product at Fort Monmouth unsuccessfully. So how did a bunch of hillbillies from Las Cruces, New Mexico, where the hell is that? Is that even in this country? Come up with a solution in 3 days? Well, it's because they don't understand this area, and basically they're morons. Okay? So they shut down our production. I fought them for 2 years. At the end of those 2 years, I had a hard time looking a lot of people in the face. And some of the generals that I worked with that were majors when I started working with them, and sit across the table, that caused the deaths of all those kids, I had a hard time having to meet with them. And they'd start talking and sound like an Army recruiting poster, and I wanted to jump across the table and beat them up. And it shows when you have that much animosity. It's not good to have animosity towards your customers. So it was decided by my partner and I that I should take a step back, and I started making movies. So there you go. And I like making movies better anyway. That's why. That's right. But I still own half the company. Yes, sir.
Do you channel some of that rage through your movies?
I absolutely do. I absolutely do. Every time I tell that story, I almost start crying. It just kills me sometimes, some of the things that we do as a world. I don't mean as individuals or the Army or the Special Operations Command or anything. I'm just talking about the world in general. We do such crazy things sometimes to one another, and it's sometimes just blows me away. But yes, I do. And that's why you see so many of my movies are about, spec ops guys invading the hospital and that kind of thing. Truth is a good example. The virus will be even better. That's coming out tomorrow. Anything else? Are we done? Yes, sir.
I guess because film is a very different, type of thing that New Mexico traditionally does, and there's other sectors in for instance, like software and technology and things like that I think have a very difficult time, fitting the compatibility of people's consciousness here in New Mexico. So could you just talk tips as to how you were able to convince people that film is a thing that we can actually do? Because as you had mentioned early on, we lose a lot of people. I know a lot of software people, they go off elsewhere because there's not opportunity here. So yeah. I'm kind of in the same boat where I'm trying to figure out.
I get that, buddy. I get that. I get that, and it kills me. One of the things that I think we can do, and I'm talking a little bit out of my area of expertise here, but it just so happens that we do have some people that have some expertise here, is do things like what's happening in Arrowhead. So they bring in companies, software companies, or in our case, maybe a company that does 3D graphics, which is very, very similar, okay? So my guys that do 3D graphics, yeah, they're using a shell rather than writing the code directly. And by the way, I did real-time code when I worked for this woman over here at New Mexico State University for a couple. She was only 14 at the time, and so I know it's very, very difficult. And it takes a lot of training, and then everybody leaves. I get that. Film requires this unique combination of technology and creativity. You can't have one without the other, especially now that we're doing everything digitally. And when we're doing all the 3D graphics and things like that, it requires that you have both. And it requires a really good QC. So I tend to be QC for the company, so the guys come in, oh, this is great. Yeah, it's maybe okay. We can make it great, but you got to do this and this and this. Because they don't want to be in trouble with those little details. Frame 29 is missing, and the audio levels here are a little lower than I think they should. Those kind of technical things where a programmer or an engineer would be more apt to see those kinds of things. So I would recommend the way that we could do this for other businesses would be to work with and support groups like Arrowhead. They're actually doing that. They're bringing in entrepreneurs, they're bringing in groups of people that employ lots of students and professors and such to try to build that industry here. And I get you, buddy, I get you. Because I was going to stay here. My wife is the youngest of 9. And her family is like just the greatest folks you've ever met. There was no way I was going to leave here. But it was tough because White Sands was kind of, so-so. I got a work job for Raytheon. I'd go back and forth to El Paso every day. Luckily, I came over to PSL because they took over the contract. And so I was able to sign on with PSL, but it was just luck. And both of the big software companies are going to be in Denver or someplace. But we could change that. if we wanted to. I know that's not really an answer, but that's as close as I can come. All right. Anybody else? Hey, well, listen, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your attendance. I appreciate you.